Okay, so I do want to talk Kansas City, Miami. I thought Kansas City made a complete statement in the first half. And then like Philadelphia, you feel like they're kind of holding on. I will say this about Kansas City, though. They have a clear hole, and it's never going to be a strength. They're just not special at wide receiver. Now, their first drive, they gave you a little bit of everything. I do think this receiving group will get better. It's young. There's no number one. I'm not sure there's a number two.
No.
But I'll tell you, that first half defense against Miami, that was one of the more impressive first halves. I mean, Miami was just the speed. This is without Bolton. The speed of Kansas City's defense. So as I sat and watched that first half, I thought, this is Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati. That's the conference. And then in the second half, they didn't really have a second, third gear. What did you make of Kansas City? I came away impressed because they flew in very late for this thing, totally seized control early. But they can't put people away this year, John. They're not putting people away.
Well, they're going to struggle to score 25 points. I mean, they just are. The underrated part about them, because Mahomes, Kelsey now, especially this Kelsey over the last month, and Andy Reid take up so much oxygen, they're kind of a defensive team. I mean, Hill and Waddle had 100 yards, 104 yards total. Like, if you're holding those guys to around 100 yards, you're going to beat them. They're 21-0 at half. Like, I'm sorry, the game's over. I thought there was a lot more pressure. Kansas City's now proven exactly who they are over a 5-year stretch. Like, I'm pretty confident when the dust settles, they're going to be in the mix in the divisional round and more than likely the championship game in the AFC. This was kind of a prove-it game for Miami, right? You lose to Philly and Buffalo. Granted, now both on the road. You get a neutral site game. You fly out there on Monday, and you're down 21-0 at half. 21-0 at half. And like you said, this ain't the Chiefs' first rodeo. Check out a little bit. They're not explosive enough on offense to just take off,
right,
but they make enough plays when they have to. Miami kind of gets a freak fumble there in the second half for Mahomes.
Right.
But to me, this was the Chiefs established in the first half. Like, you're not on our level, just like Buffalo and Philly said that earlier. And listen, Miami's a fun story. Their coach is an easy guy to root for. When they're rolling, they're a fun team to watch. But I think it's pretty clear, whatever the upper echelon tier in the AFC is, obviously Baltimore's in it, Kansas City's in it, I think Cincinnati's in it, Buffalo. They are not,
Yes.
And that was, we don't even need to argue that anymore. I think the only question now is, could they win a playoff game? I wouldn't bet on them because it's going to be more than likely a road playoff game.
That's right.
But they're going to get back-to-back playoffs. Obviously, the franchise is heading in the right direction. But in terms of like AFC contenders, it is not the Miami Dolphins.
Something magical happens when the third quarter ends and the fourth quarter begins. The energy changes. The fourth quarter, that's where games are won. And in business, it's where sales teams become legends. The fourth quarter. That's why HubSpot built Sales Hub to give sales reps the deal-making tools they need to win in the fourth quarter and close the year strong. Sales Hub Prospecting Workplace organizes your schedule, your to-do lists, your goals all in one place to save your team time in the precious fourth quarter. Smart sequences help sales reps close deals faster than ever. Plus, AI forecasting helps you accurately predict future successes. And with an easy-to-use management tool, reps can find, track, and close deals all in one place, which means less hoping for deals and more crushing targets. Put your sales team on the fast track now to winning the fourth quarter with Sales Hub. Learn more at HubSpot.com/sales. No, I mean, it's I've always liked Tua, but I've never loved him. And I do think when you speed the game up, and he had a couple drops today, but to your point, if you look at the history of football, the great teams have always been able to grind. Even the Niners with Walsh, Taylor, Joe Montana.
Defense.
Those teams, they were great defense. I mean, we never talked about that defense. And the reason we don't is because it's Joe Montana. Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys, real defense, Pro Bowlers everywhere.
Think about some of the homegrown Packer teams with Reggie White and, Leroy Butler and some of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, one of the knocks on the Packers, you say, why don't Favre and Rodgers win more? Well, they have when they have their best defenses in those quarterbacks' careers. And so even Peyton Manning, go back to the Peyton Manning team that won a Super Bowl in Indy. That was one of the best defenses he ever had. So I just think Miami is fun. I've been saying this, the Dolphins are the city. It's a lot of fake Gucci loafers and Rolexes that if you shower turn green. They're fun, they're interesting, but as the season progresses, they're just not built for this. And it's funny, as much as I like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, you probably are best served to give up Waddle eventually and just go get some more defensive help. That's my take on them, is that this coach, this quarterback, Tyreek Hill, you're going to score points in this sport. You've got to get better on your line play. Because that, to me, today with Kansas City, it was like, oh, they just can't block certain people.
Yeah, I mean, offensive line, when they were healthy, wasn't good coming into the season. The good thing you have to feel if you have Miami is sometimes the hardest thing to get, obviously, is the quarterback, but also the coaching staff. The Mike McDaniel's clearly a very innovative young offensive coach. And Vic Fangio now has kind of proven to the spot, like he's not going to be head coach anymore. So you got him, keep paying him a premium. You got that in play. Just get more defensive pieces. You have to be good at the line of scrimmage in this conference. Because one, you got to rush the passer to beat the Joe Burrows, Lamar Jacksons, Patrick Mahomes, and you have to be able to block. I mean, you watch the Ravens today, obviously the Steelers, now the Chiefs have, revitalized their defense. You have to be able to neutralize other teams' fronts. All these Cleveland, all these teams now have multiple pass rushers. Every team has like $100 million guy and then like a guy probably making a $50 million contract. Right. So if you can't block, you look at Dallas down the stretch. They were relentless with all the pass rushers. And it's the 49ers. What do? They went and got Chase Young. They got another guy. So you just rush the passer, and you can get away sometimes with guys like me and you covering, offensive weapons in the secondary if you can, impact the quarterback.